We have learned about context-free languages, and we saw two different formal representations for context-free languages, and they are context-free grammars and push-down automata. And we proved that they too are equivalent in power. And now we have to witness some languages as non-context free, or in other words, we need to learn a technique to prove that certain languages are non-context free, and that is the topic for today. Today we are going to learn pumping lemma for context free languages. So before we formally look at what a pumping lemma statement is, let us first make a foundation for discussing the pumping lemma statement. So here is a context free grammar for this language A raised to n, B raised to n. And this is an equivalent grammar in Chomsky normal form. We know that for every context free grammar like this, there exists an equivalent grammar in Chomsky normal form. Then that grammar is called a CNF grammar, and here is one example. Now, we also know that leftmost derivations and past trees represent each other. So given this CNF grammar, we are going to look at a derivation in this grammar. So as you know, the derivation starts with the start symbol of the grammar, and the corresponding derivation tree or past tree starts with the root node, where capital S or the start symbol is the only node. Now, if you apply this production, this is what you derive in the grammar, and this is how you represent it in the derivation tree. S is now replaced with AX. Now it is a leftmost derivation, so we know that the leftmost symbol is capital A and only one rule for A. If you apply that capital A is getting replaced with small a, and here is how you represent it in past tree. And now the leftmost non-terminal is capital X, only one production for it. If you apply it, this is what is happening. Now if you look at the current sentential form, capital S is the leftmost variable or non-terminal, and here is the corresponding node. We are going to expand it, maybe now by using the second transition for capital S. So if you apply the second transition, this capital S is replaced by capital AP, and that is what is happening here as well. Now if you look at this sentential form, capital A is the leftmost variable and only one production. If you apply it, this is what is happening. Capital A is replaced with small a, and this is the corresponding change in the past tree. Now capital B and this now is what is to be expanded. We apply the only rule for capital B. This is what is happening. And now we have only one capital letter or variable, and we can apply the same production, and then what you are getting is a string derived A square B square in the language. So this is a derivation tree, and we know that derivation tree uniquely represents a leftmost derivation. So no need to have this derivation sequence. This tree is enough to represent it uniquely. Now we are going to see cutting and pasting in past tree. Now you may wonder what is cutting and pasting in parse tree. So I am going to tell you about it. So this is the parse tree that we have just seen. Now what I am going to do is I am going to cut the tree at this level. Why? Because I know that this is a tree rooted at node capital S. So by cutting I mean I am going to replace this tree with a subtree rooted at a node with the same symbol as this. This is what I can do. This is the tree hanging at node capital S. What I am going to do is I am going to replace this with some other subtree in it hanging at the same node, say capital S. This is what I am going to do. That is, I am going to replace the whole tree with this tree. So what will happen then? This is what is going to happen. From the whole tree, what I did, I removed the whole tree hanging at capital S and I replaced it with another tree or subtree hanging in the same node. So this is going to come in this place, and this is what is happening. And this is again a parse tree, and what is it deriving? It is deriving AB. The string derived by a parse tree is called yield of a parse tree. And now you know that this is the corresponding leftmost derivation. And why is it that in capital S there is a tree hanging at here? That means from capital S you can derive AB, and that is why a subtree is here. Hope you remember it from the discussion for parse trees and derivation trees. Otherwise, please go and see that lecture first. So this is it. This is cutting and pasting. So basically what we are doing is, in a parse tree, if you have a tree rooted at a node capital S, and if you can find some other subtrees in that rooted at the same node S, then what you can do is, because it's from S, you can cut away the whole tree and you can get in a subtree rooted at the same node. So this is what I did now. Okay. Now what I am going to do it, I am going to cut at this level. So in this case, I am going to cut away this subtree and I am going to get in another subtree rooted at a capital S. If you look at this, then there is only one other subtree rooted at capital S, which is the whole tree. So what I want to do now is, I found that there are two trees hanging at the same node capital S. Here is one and here is another one. Now I want to replace the subtree hanging at this node with this whole tree. If I do this, this is what is going to happen. So I replace this small tree with the whole tree here. See that I have not changed this portion. This is exactly the same. And in this tree, what I did is, I removed this subtree and I placed there this whole tree. This is what I did. Okay. And now what is the yield of this tree? It's AQ, BQ, A, B, B, B. And what we have seen now is, a tree rooted at a non-terminal capital X, like here S, can be replaced with another tree rooted at the same node X. So that is what we did. Here we have a tree rooted at capital S. We have replaced it with another tree rooted at capital S. That is what we did. Hope you followed it. Otherwise, please watch it again, and for the interest of time, let us proceed. Now we are going to see what will be the property of a parse tree for a grammar in Chomsky normal form. So here is an example. You can see that this is a binary tree, And why is it that for a Chomsky normal form grammar it is always binary? Because you know that in CNF, the RHS of a production may be either two non-terminal or a single terminal. So for every node, the number of child nodes is either 2 or 1. So maximum 2 child nodes, and hence the tree must be a binary tree, and that's true. Now, what is level number? Level number of a binary of a node in a tree, that is true for general tree, is the number of edges to be traversed to reach that node from the root node. So if you are looking at the level number of this node, then it is nothing but the number of edges to be traversed to reach that node from the root node. So what is it? 1, 2 and 3. This is the level number. For example, here these are the level numbers. You can verify that the definition is correct. Now, what is height of a tree? Height of a tree is the highest level number of nodes in it. So what is the height of this tree? The highest level number, which is 6. Now, terminal symbols appear only in leaf nodes in a parse tree. Here you can see that the terminal symbol, small letters, appear only in leaf nodes, and that is true because terminal symbol means you cannot replace it with something else, and that must be a leaf node. So this is very intuitive. Now, just before looking at the pumping lemma, we need to recollect or refresh some non-facts about binary trees. So here is a complete binary tree given, and we can look at some of its properties which we need for our pumping lemma. The maximum number of nodes at level I is 2 raised to I. You verify. You can easily prove it using mathematical induction, but for this example you can easily verify. Here the level is 0, 2 raised to 0, 1 node. Here level is 1, 2 raised to 1, only 2 nodes. At this level, 2 raised to 2, 4 nodes are there. At this level, 2 raised to 3, that is 8 nodes. And this is an example. You can easily prove it using the principle of mathematical induction. So this is a non-fact about binary trees. So maximum is 2 raised to I. If it is not a complete tree, it will be less than 2 raised to I. When a binary tree has height h, the maximum number of leaf nodes possible is 2 power h. Is that true? Here the height is 3. So what is the maximum number of leaf nodes? 2 raised to 3. We can easily verify in this case, and it is not difficult to prove it also using the principle of mathematical induction. And in this case, you may wonder why all the leaf nodes are at this level. Suppose not. If some leaf nodes are here, then you can see that now there are only 7 leaf nodes if it happens. That is, if there is a leaf node at a level lower than the height, then it will have less than 2 to the power h leaf nodes. So this can be taken as granted. If the height is h, then the maximum number of leaf nodes possible is 2 to the power h. Another fact, when a binary tree has height h, the maximum length of a path from the root node to leaf node is also h. For example, here the height is h, then the length of the maximal path is again h, because it cannot have a path of length more than height. That's a trivial case. Another point, a length k path in a tree has k plus 1 nodes in it. Here we have a 3 length path, and the length of the path is number of edges, and you can easily verify that if there are n edges, then definitely n plus 1 vertices. and that is a non-fact about graph in general. So please remember it. If the length of the path in a tree is k, then k plus 1 nodes are there. Now this is a very important point that we need. The length of the yield of a path tree. Yield of a path tree means the string derived of height h. Suppose the height of the path tree is h, then the length of the maximum length of the string derived by that path tree in a CNF grammar is 2 to the power h minus 1. Why is it so? Because we know that deriving a string means each symbol of that string is represented by a leaf node. So what would be the maximum number of symbols? Same as the maximum number of leaf nodes. But here we said the maximum number of leaf nodes is 2 to the power h when h is the height. Then here it must be 2 to the power h. Then why is it that it is 2 to the power h minus 1? Do you see it? It's because the grammar is CNF. You can see that the productions are of the form in the right side 2 symbols. That is what has happened till this level. Every time 2 symbols in the right side. And finally, to replace all the capital letters or variables, you have to apply a production with only 1 symbol in the RHS. So at the last level, you cannot grow it to 2 nodes, only 1 node. So the number of nodes here will be exactly same as the number of nodes in the previous level. And that is why it is only 2 to the power h minus 1. And it follows because of this property of the CNF grammar. The production is of these 2 forms, any one of these 2 forms. RHS either 2 symbols or 1 symbol. And to derive a terminal string, you have to apply this kind of a production. And that's it. Hope you followed it. And so this can also be considered as valid. And now is the most critical point that we need for pumping lemma. So you can say that the height of a derivation tree of a CNF grammar for a terminal string of length 2 to the power n minus 1 will be at least n. This is a direct implication from this. We know that if the height is h, then what is the maximum length of the string? 2 to the power h minus 1. Okay. So if you have a string of length 2 to the power n minus 1, then what would be the minimum height of the tree? It is n, directly implied by this thing. So these 2 are 2 important points that you have to remember. If you want to derive a string of length 2 to the power n minus 1, then you need at least the height n. This is what we saw. And if there is a path of length k, then there are k plus 1 nodes in it. These are the 2 points, and this is now enough for us to see what is the pumping lemma. Now proceed and see what is it. Derivation tree for a long enough string. What's long enough? Consider a Chomsky normal form grammar with n variables in it. It's very important, n variables. And now I am going to consider a string of length at least 2 to the power n. And what is this n? The number of variables in the grammar. And it is a CNF grammar. Now from the previous discussion, we know that because we want to accept a string of length 2 to the power n, or we want to derive a string of length 2 to the power n, the height of the tree must be at least n plus 1. This is exactly what we saw in the previous slide. So I am just copying it. So this is done or proved. Now consider a longest path P from the root node to a leaf node in this tree. This is the path tree abstractly represented. now the length of the path is n plus 1. Length of this path is n plus 1. Why? Because we know that the height is n plus 1. So, the length of the longest path must be n plus 1. That also is discussed in the previous slide. And we also know that if the path length is n plus 1, then from the previous slide, how many nodes are there? If n plus 1 is the path length, then n plus 2 nodes are there. Okay, what about these nodes? Except the last node, every other node must contain a variable as the label, because you know that the labels of the nodes in the path tree is either a variable or a terminal, and the terminal appears only in the leaf node, and in all non-leaf nodes we need to have a variable. And how many nodes are there? N plus 2 nodes are there. Sorry, n plus 2, exactly, n plus 2 nodes are there. And now we are guaranteed to get a repeated non-terminal, because how many non-terminals are there? Only n non-terminals are there. And now how many nodes are there in this path? N plus 2. And in n plus 2 nodes, 1 is a terminal symbol as the last node. So, n plus 1 nodes are non-terminals. Okay, n plus 1 nodes are internal nodes or non-leaf nodes, and at every non-leaf node we need to have a variable. So, how many nodes with variables? N plus 1 nodes with variables. Then by pigeonhole principle, there must be a non-terminal repeating in this path. Why? Because there are only n variables in it. And that is why I took a string of length greater than or equal to 2 to the power n. And now we saw that there is a repeated non-terminal. Now what you do? You look at the first repeated non-terminal from the bottom. You start from the leaf node here in this path, move up, you go all the way till you reach capital S. Because there are repeated non-terminals, you are guaranteed to get at least 1, and the first repeated is called capital X. Then you can draw the tree like this. This is the path, and X is assumed to be the first repeated non-terminal. Please don't get confused about this subdivision, that I will explain with our concrete example tree in the next slide. So, here is our concrete example tree, and if you look at this path, and now you look at the first repeated non-terminal from bottom. What is it? You see that it is this capital S, same as the root node in this particular case. And now you can see what is this red tree, what is this black tree, and what is this brown tree. So, this is it. Red tree is here. Before the first repeated X is red tree. Okay, this is it. And what is the black tree? Black tree is for this capital X other than this X. So, that is this one. And this is the brown tree. Okay, and now you can say that the entire string which was Z can be subdivided into U, V, W, X, Y, such that Z is equal to concatenation of all this. And in this example, what is U? U is this A. The left side of the red tree is U, and this is A here, and the right side is Y, and that is B here. And what is the left side of the black tree is V here, and in this case it's again A. And the right side is X here, and in this particular case is B. And what is the brown tree here is W, and what is it here is AB. This is a concrete example. With this, I hope you followed it. And now I am going to do cutting and pasting in this case. So, what I did here is I am going to, because I have two trees rooted at X, what I am going to do now is I will cut away the X tree rooted at here, and in that place I am going to place this small tree, and this is what I am going to get. So, what is this thing? Previously it was UVWXY in the language. Now, if I do this, This is again a parse tree. So UVW is in the language. And if you do the same thing here, what will happen? You will cut away this black tree and you will move up this tree to this level, and this is what is going to happen. And previously it was A cube B cube, now A square B square. And this was the now you can write this as U W y is nothing but U v to the power 0, which is epsilon, W x to the power 0, which is epsilon y. So this is the general form. Now this was the original case. Now I am going to do cutting and pasting again. Now what I am going to do is I will copy or cut this whole tree. Copy this whole tree and I am going to place it instead of this small tree here. This is what I am going to do. Not that this was the tree, I copied this tree because it's rooted at x and I am going to paste it here. So what I will get? I will now get U V V W x x y. This is U v square W x square y, which is in the language. And if you do the same thing here, what you will get? You can verify that this is correct because I have placed this black tree twice. This is exactly what I did here. And now this is A to the power 4, B to the power 4. So I can do cutting and pasting. And if I remove this tree by cutting and paste this, I will get U v raised to 0 W x raised to 0 y. And if I copy this and I paste it over here, I will get U v square W x square y. Similarly, I can easily see that for all values of I in N naught, I can generate U v to the power I W x to the power I y in the language of the same grammar whenever the original string, which is Z, is in the language. It's a very similar case as that of the plumbing lemma for regular languages, but this is for context free. And now it's a time for us to proceed and see what is the plumbing lemma. So this is the tree based on which we are going to define the statement of the plumbing lemma. For every context free language L, there exists a constant k such that for any string in the language with a length greater than or equal to k, there are strings u, v, w, x, y such that what is Z? Z is the concatenation of all this, so. And we can later prove that the concatenation of v and x cannot be null string. And also we can prove that the length of the string vwx is less than or equal to this k. And this is what we know. For all values of I, u, v to the power I, w, x to the power I, y is in the language. And how can you prove it? We almost have done it. You take the value of k as any value greater than or equal to the number of variables in the grammar generating the context free language. Given it is a context free language, so without loss of generality, you can assume that there exists a Cn of grammar for L. You take k as any value greater than or equal to the number of variables in the grammar. Then we have proved that this is true. Then why is it that Vx is not null string? Since we can assume without loss of generality that the grammar is in Chomsky normal form, then you cannot have epsilon protection and hence this is not possible. Then finally, why is it that this is true? Because if you remember, x is the first repeated non-terminal from the bottom. So this is the first repeated non-terminal. So you can see that the maximum length of the path in this subtree is n plus 1, because X is the only repeated non-terminal. How many other non-terminals are there? If n is the height, then other is n minus 1. So n minus 1 plus 2, that is n plus 1, that is the maximum height. And then you can see that from the previous discussion, we know that if the height is bounded by k, then the length is bounded by 2 to the power k. And from that this follows. Hope you followed it. Otherwise, you see what we discussed before and you can easily verify that this is correct. And with this we are finishing this lecture, and today we have seen pumping lemma for context-free languages. And in the next class, we are going to see how can you formulate the pumping lemma as a game to prove that certain languages are non-context free. Thank you.